Hi friends, thanks for joining me today as I was doing the mundane task of putting away laundry yesterday. Some random video ideas were kind of floating into my head and I was thinking about how I've done, I feel like, quite a few videos to help out people who are makeup beginners. Tutorials that feel very entry-level, product recommendations that would really suit people who are just getting started or maybe doing kind of a refresh. And then I thought, what about the opposite of that? What about makeup recommendations for people who absolutely love makeup, you know? What things would really stand out to them, fulfill them, just really knock their socks off? And as I started to think oh, I would definitely include this or that, I noticed it was fun products. It was sometimes additional step kinds of products, you know, because someone who really loves makeup is probably willing to do this or that extra. It wasn't a bunch of workhorse products, you know what I'm saying? I felt like I wasn't talking about the bare necessities when I was thinking of products that fall into this category. So I hope you like this video. As I look at the bag of things I've assembled, it's not really a full face, but I'm gonna kind of apply as I go and talk about the things that I did pick. And I feel like I'm probably going to finish this video and it's going to be one of those where as I'm editing, I'm thinking, oh yeah, what about this and that and the other? So there may be a part 2. But I'm glad you're here with me today. And even if you are just starting out with makeup, I hope everybody enjoys this video, you know? First off, I'm going to mention a really great primer. And primer is one of those things where if you're trying to get by with the bare minimum steps in your routine, you could skip a primer, you know? But this extra little step, I really do enjoy it every time I use it. I think it's beautiful and I think it's subtle and I think it would be appreciated by someone who just really gets a kick out of makeup, you know? So it's the Catrice Skin Glaze and it's the Hydrating Serum Primer. This is kind of like a milky, gently pearly primer. While I don't think it negatively impacts staying power, it's not like a gripping primer, you know, with a real long wear purpose. But I just always think once I blend a little dropper's worth, or not even a full dropper's worth, but most of a dropper on my skin, I have this really pretty, very subtle radiance. It's not going to be shouting from the rooftops like a L'Oreal Lumi Glotion is. And it's not going to have an effect at all, really, on your skin tone. But it's just giving you the softest little glow and added hydration. And yeah, just super pretty stuff. Someone who's into details, I think, would like this because, like I said, it's a soft effect. I definitely notice it and I like the little additional hydration that I have on my skin going into that foundation step too. Alrighty friends, I went on and I applied my foundation, concealer, and setting powder. I do feel like these are kind of workhorse steps, you know, and I also think currently, since I've gotten a little more color on my skin, I can't just use any foundation that I own. I have certain ones right now that'll match me a little better. One of those is my Maybelline Superstay in the shade, I think it's 130. I've rubbed it off a little bit. But I own this in 2 colors. One's way light and one is this shade, and this actually works for me now. And then my Essence Silky Blur Concealer, this is in 100. So I've got that for a nice brightened up under eye and anywhere else I needed concealer. And then I use my Coty Airspun as my setting powder right on the under eye and around the nose and a little bit on the forehead. And the next product I'm going to recommend, and you guys have heard me talk about this a lot, but I do think this is kind of one of those additional steps that someone who's really into their makeup would be willing to do and would really appreciate the texture of this product as well. It's the Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Hybrid Powder Foundation. So I wear this in shade 128. As you can see, I've used tons of it, but this is that little step where I use it lightly, but I'll go in after the foundation is on and after the setting powder has been done on my under eye and I've used the powder puff, you know, and I take this over the rest of my face. You know, I might lightly hit over the nose or whatever, but primarily it's taking the texture of the rest of my skin and making it not sticky. More consistent with the way my under eyes feel right now, having been set, but not as much product is being put on. And I swear it makes such a difference. A little bit of this goes a long way. And if you feel that powder with your fingers, you're going to be like, wow, that actually feels really, really nice and smooth, and a good amount of pigment and softness is very evident when you touch it. And so that's why, hopefully, every time I'm using this in a video, I'm mentioning the fact that I'm just using a light amount, because potentially a lot could come off on your brush. But taking that extra step at this point, not only is it actually slightly perfecting your overall skin tone even more. Now I can get away with using some very light coverage things as a base, and then coming in with a step like this helps your coverage out, but it helps your staying power and just that overall more consistent texture all across your skin. So that's one of those little extras where if you're really into makeup, you might be willing to do that, and this is just a very specific product to check out. Next thing, if you love makeup, have you tried this Physicians Formula Butter Glow Bronzing Serum? Because this is a fun product. It's very interesting. It blends like so easily. If you love makeup, you probably get a kick out of things that just blend really nicely across your skin. This comes in the one shade. It has the little dropper, and I feel like it could be a mixer type of product too. Like it could be added to foundations. I really, instead of complaining about not having the right shade of foundation, I could do some mixing with this or like my CoverGirl product that I have. But this is a really fun one to use as your bronzer. And yes, even after powder has been applied, you can use this, and you won't have an easier time blending any cream or liquid on your skin. It's so simple. Use a Sephora 56 or something similar to a Sephora 56 would be a Real Techniques like expert face brush. And yeah, I'm gonna get a little contour out of this product. I love using this. When it's a day, maybe I'm not shooting a specific video and the look doesn't have to turn out any certain way that I had planned. I'm just up here to play. You bet I'm busting this out. Like, I just think it's enjoyable, okay? I do kind of like the smell that I'm getting from it, which is very tropical. Very like Hawaiian tropic sunscreen vibes. I have a Hawaiian tropic sunscreen that I use all over my body, and it smells just like that. It's the butter bronzer scent, but it's so pretty. And look at that. It's not like it's packed with shimmer, but it gives you just kind of a radiant glow, but the thinness means you're not gonna feel a crazy texture shift on your skin after blending it in. I love that stuff. Butter Glow Bronzing Serum from Physicians Formula. And I feel like you've just got tons in here. I mean, you got a full fluid ounce of this product that you're only using a partial bit of a dropper's worth on your whole face whenever you use it. Gonna have it a long time. Extra cheek steps scream, I love makeup, okay? Because you could totally get by with one single blush, call it a day, finish your look, you know, everything's finished. But if you love makeup, you're willing to do a little bit more. And I think these little Morphe palettes that literally incorporate 3 separate blush steps, that's for somebody who likes doing makeup, okay? You got 2 textures of cream, 1 texture of powder. This is one of their newer ones that they released called Honeymoon Sweet, and I think it's very pretty. While today with the shirt I'm wearing, I feel like I could have really rocked a nice peachy blush. This works with anything too. So I'm taking yet a different Sephora 56, and I'm gonna go into that top cream. So we have a cream that's just creamy pigmented color, and then we have a cream that's got some glow, and then that matte full colored powder at the bottom. Got it? We're gonna play with all that. Okay, so I'm going into that top cream, and you'll see when I blend this in, it's like it's gonna give me a blushed look, but it's not screaming blush. The tone is such that it just really seems natural. That's what the makeup lover wants. A natural blush, but willing to take 3 steps to get there. Just tapping it in. Notice how I'm not doing a big buff. I'm just tapping it in because I don't want to affect the other products that have already been put on my face. Okay, since there are the 3 steps, we don't need to use a lot of each one. I'm gonna go to the shimmer, and I'm gonna think a little bit more like almost highlighter placement with that. I'm letting the apple of my cheek shine a bit more with the glowy powder cream. Letting that have just that little glazy pop there. Perfect. And then when I come in with this, I'm thinking, but let's hit them with a little more color. So you go down to that powder with your e.l.f. blush brush. Kind of go back to where the original cream blush was applied. And look how pretty. Do you see what I mean when I say this color of blush, I think kind of works with whatever your vibe is for the day, whatever you're wearing? It just kind of fits. Again, I'm keeping it over where the first cream was put on. So beautiful. See, I really like that, and I enjoy this process. I'm not rolling my eyes at a 3-pan blush palette. I'm excited about the thought of essentially putting on 3 blushes at one sitting. If you love makeup, you might feel that way. And I've got a couple other blush recommendations. If you adore blush and you have not yet tried a Laura Geller Baked Blush and Brighten, this is one of those things that is just so aesthetically pleasing to look at one of her blushes. This is the shade Starfish Island. Look at that. All of the blushes just look like a work of art. The pigment in them, the amount of color that comes off is always so beautiful. And this has, they call it a natural finish. It has a little bit of a satin glow. And I swear that some of the creamy looking tones that are swirled within this, I feel like they're baked French vanilla. Like it's a baked French vanilla infused blush. And if you know what that is, that's a very, very subtle highlight that Laura Geller makes. I'm just assuming that it's part of this. That's my guess. It does just like offer some brightness. There's mauve in this one. There's coral. Every blush that you get, you could spend a little time just looking at it. And you're gonna see so many different tones. And you'll put it on your skin and you'll be like, gosh, I enjoy this color. And then you'll look back and think, what did I actually put on here? Okay, coral, mauve, potentially baked French vanilla in there. There's a little bit of some rich rose. So that's just one example of one Laura Geller Baked Blush and Brighten that's out there. They're just amazingly designed, and I feel like somebody who really likes makeup would get one, appreciate one. Think about the fact that they start as a cream and then they're baked on a terracotta tile. Just a really cool product you're gonna love having, and you're gonna have that a long, long time. They're domed up, you know. Takes a while to make a dent in one of those domes. I've done it, but it takes significant use. So yes, big recommendation there, but I'm not gonna pop it on as an additional blush today. And another cheek product from Catrice. This is their Aura Glam Balm Highlighter. Again, with swirly fun mixtures of tones, but this is what I'd call a blush topper highlighter. It's got rosiness in there. It's got swirls of more of a real pinky pearly shade. It's even got a little bronze. But the gleam definitely shows, and it's super pretty. If you, with your placement of this product, you go right on like the apple of your cheek and you make sure you're overlapping some of the spot where you put your blush. And you can use a brush to blend it out, but like it's so gorgeous. If you lean into where there's a lot of pink in the compact, it looks super pretty just topping things off. I don't know, I feel like I'm going for glow in less literal highlighter applications, you know what I mean? I'm looking for it within a blush or with something like this or as part of my primer, you know? Those are some of the different ways I like to experience glow. I feel like somebody who just loves makeup would appreciate that a lot. Friends, I did browse. I just used my Morphe Skinny Pencil in Java, and I used my Maybelline Super Lock Brow Gel tinted stuff. And we're moving on to an eye look, and I feel like you might be able to predict what I'm going to recommend to people who love makeup. An eyeshadow brand I think you should try. That's the e.l.f. Lock It Down Eye Primer. I'm talking about Sydney Grace. If you love eyeshadow, I feel like this is a brand for people just really into it, you know? There's great pigment. There are colors that are just gonna make you giddy with the way they come together. And this is the Hot Mess palette, and I haven't used it nearly as much as I want to yet, so I just thought I'm gonna use this video as an excuse to use it again. But they've got so many beautiful palettes. One of my tip-top faves, just for everyday makeup, but also special occasion makeup, the Unveiled palette, the collab with Kendra Matthews. That is a gorgeous palette. And it's kind of like got your rose. You could do brownish, you could do cooler, a little more rosy. One thing I always notice in these palettes is exceptional texture and great balanced choices made from light to dark. And you have a light and a dark option to actually choose from when you buy them. They're not usually real far off from one another, but some of the deepest shades, some of the neutrals, certain basics will be shifted a little bit to better complement a deeper skin tone. I think it's so cool. I'm gonna go up to this peachy shade here since I am wearing some peach. It's called I Forgot, and I'm gonna get that going in my crease and kind of up above the crease too. But I just think it's a great brand to look into for people who appreciate good eyeshadow. There are plenty of really cheap things that also work well, that also get the job done and can be very, very basic and really good. But this is the type of palette that I'm gonna like kind of geek out over. And I noticed some of you recommended I try Nomad. And I've been looking through that website and I've got like a handful. I'm still trying to narrow down what I might try first from Nomad. There's a lot of good looking, exciting looking stuff there. Okay, so we've just kind of splashed this into the crease and above, blending kind of on the edge. Blends so smoothly, so easily. The last time I used this palette, I know I worked in like some of the plummy stuff as my deepest shade. Today I'm gonna go up here to Messy Bun using my flat brush, and I'm going to tap that on the outside. Yesterday, Uga had a great game. He hit the ball from the coach's pitch during each at-bat. I'm so happy for him. He got a new bat. Bub had kind of realized in helping the kids, like, he's kind of the dugout guy and, you know, gets the kids in order and hands them all their bats, and he's like, his bat is kind of a decent amount heavier than a lot of these other ones. Like, I don't know how we ended up with buying such a heavy bat, but we kind of did. He's like, it might be a hint narrower too. I'm like, okay, wonderful. And so this past weekend they go to Dick's and they get a different bat, and it's super fun looking. It's like lime green, and just practicing out in the yard, he's hitting a lot of the balls that are pitched to him. And we're like, okay, good deal. And then he goes to the game last night and he just crushes it. I'm gonna go to Life Happened right here, this warm shade. And I'm taking that with a smaller brush because I know it's a little lighter depth level than the last one I used, but still intense. So I'm kind of gonna work that out and maybe fan that shade out a little bit. Kind of applied a lot over here. But it was really cute. We were journaling yesterday. I'm trying to keep him writing. I don't want school to start in August and him lose, you know, a lot of the good progress he's made. So every day, every couple days, we'll journal something and I'll give him a little prompt. The prompt I gave him the other day was at baseball. And so he writes down at baseball, and his next line was, I love my coaches. And he wrote like who they all are. And then he drew the diamond, kids on each base, where the coaches were. And I just thought that was so nice. And I just want to shout out, like, if you're a person who is volunteering your time in youth sports, and yeah, you're probably part of it because you've got a kid in it yourself, but just know that, like, with this being so many kids' first go-round in some kind of organized sport, like, you're making such a difference. You really have the potential to, you know? And when you encourage and you lift up and you just focus on enthusiasm, you know, I think it really does rub off. The little nuggets you leave with a kid telling them you did a great job or, you know, whatever, that stuff sticks. And I just appreciate all the people. You go out to the ball fields, you know, on any given night, and on every ball diamond, you've got a handful of parents that are out there helping these kids and doing a darn good job of it. I've just been buffing to my heart's content here while I've been talking. And just getting a nice little bit of warmth. I've just used these top 3 today. That's what I've been doing. I'm a little tempted to go back to Messy Bun. Boop. Just a bit of that and make sure I've got the darkness right where I want it. Because sometimes over the course of a lot of blending, you might lose precisely where you want that depth. Make sure it's primarily tucked right in the crease, so everything else looks like it's kind of fading out. And I really have wanted to use this color up here called Surviving on Coffee. I think that's, oh my gosh, foiled. Positively metallic. There's not a fleck, it seems like, of actual like shimmer bits. That is just a pure metallic. Okay, let's go. Get some on my Morphe M302. It just can't wait to get there. It can't wait to lay down. That's enjoyable. Get out of town. Ooh, the sheen is stunning. And the fun of overlapping your darker shade with this beautiful metallic. It's singing. Love it. And then you could go down here. Gosh, I've just used this whole top row today. Just the top row. Going to that one called Caffeinated. It's just even lighter, and I feel like it's a good inner corner pop. A little more here. There we go. Slay. So in this video, I feel like we've discussed, you know, if you love makeup, maybe you're willing to take the extra step. Maybe you really, you know, get into the little details of certain products and appreciate them. And another thing, I think, a person who loves makeup will love the feel of certain things. The act of application, you know, just does something for them. And I think a L'Oreal Lace Shadow Stick, if you haven't yet tried one, is something you're really gonna like, because it's kind of amazing how these mentally rank for me. I have a drawer full of shadow sticks, you know, and I've got quite a few high-end ones, and this just like rises to the top. This shade called Brown Abyss, I'm going to use it as a little bit of soft like lazy liner, and color-wise it's not going to stand out a ton today because I do have quite a bit of darkness there in my outer corner. But the way this glides on, this is not a new product. I've had this in my stash for how long now? Coming up on a couple years maybe. Goes on just as easily and feels a little bit cooling. Yeah, a person who loves makeup is gonna love that. There is no effort. I'm not gripping my pencil. I am on a sensitive area here. I'm on an eyelid, and I'm not tugging at it, pulling at it. I'm not bringing in another hand to pull it taut. No, I do not want to stretch my eyelid. I don't want to create new wrinkles. These are so easy and nice. And so Brown Abyss is a great one to use if you want just like that little smudgy liner. You can't quite tell where it starts and stops because it's got a little thickness and it blends really nicely into a neutral look like this. And there are other good ones that I just don't use as often, but Magnetic Bronze is that step softer, and that's always that shade I like down here. And this is workhorse status right on the bottom because I don't want that to move, and it won't move. It will stay there all day long. It will set. So important. If you've ever been frustrated with what happens to your eye look at 3 in the afternoon, think about a lace shadow stick on that lower lash line. And I just kind of wish we had more tones like this, of this sort of medium intensity, because I'm looking at what I have, and I've got these really pretty deep ones that they put out with the Smoky collection, but then so many of the other shades just in the regular line are really kind of light. Like they'd be pretty crossing all over your lid, let's say, for some shimmer. But I'd love if they put out some more that are various colors, but this depth level that looks really good and appropriate on the lower lash line. Alrighty gang, I finished up my look. I put some mascara up top. It's my Laura Geller Kajal mascara, and then e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes. And then on my lips, I talk about these so much, but it's gonna be an e.l.f. stain. And I feel like stains are a great thing really for anybody. For someone who's just looking for like the practical, give me something that works, give me something that'll wear a long time throughout the day, you know, a stain is good for them. But a stain is also good in the sense that if you love makeup, you know, maybe it is an extra step rather than just slapping on lipstick or lip gloss or a one-step product. It's maybe something that's going to go on and then you do something else with it. But I can definitely geek out over these e.l.f. stains because I love the way they're packaged, I love the way they work, and there are so many great shades. I think that Cherry Cola is going to be a really good one for my look today. It's going to echo, I think, the vibe of the eyes, but be a little more rich. So I'm going to pop it on. I like the doe foot. I like the size of the doe foot. And I like that the inside is like funneling the liquid product back down into the tube. But yeah, like I said, there's different ways of looking at a stain. Is it an extra step that you're going to have fun with? Sure. But could it also be like just something very practical in terms of your makeup look, where you just want color, you don't want goop? I think that looks so good. I just love these different tones, and I thought they actually had a decent selection of shades to start, and then they did this extension where, you know, I was able to get the maple latte shade and the burgundy, got an even kind of brighter pink, the mauve one. I do think it's just one of those products you need to try. You need to get one. You need to see, like, am I going to connect with a stain? I think you will. And then I'm going to put some gloss over top. Gloss, I don't feel like is a real makeup lover's thing. I think glosses are easy to love, easy to find. It's that top off kind of step, and so many things are good. I'm going to take this Vanilla Toffee shade of my e.l.f. here, so it's going to have a little color to it. Let me squeeze some out. See, just a little color, but it's going to sheer out quite a bit. And I like the smell of it too. I like that smell. It almost made the cherry cola just a little more brownish, a little more earthy, but I love the way that comes together for the total look. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed the brainstorming behind putting it all together. Just remember, makeup is fun. It should be fun. If you're not having fun, rethink your process. Rethink the amount of time you're giving yourself to do makeup. This time is about you. It's your own personal arts and crafts on your face. So if that means maybe you should wake up and give yourself an extra 10 minutes in addition to what you were already doing. You're gonna have fun if you can feel relaxed and not feel like you're rushing. Anytime I've had to rush through the process, I'm certainly not having as much fun with it. And consider also the downtime if you have, a few extra minutes to touch up or just play. Being able to play with makeup, combine different things, see what you like, try something different, allowing yourself a little bit of time over the course of a week to do something like that now and then is really, really helpful in reinvigorating the joy and maybe getting you out of that makeup rut mode. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.